One of the biggest chemical plants in Russia saw explosions. One of the biggest chemical facilities in Russia, located in the Rostov region near the Ukrainian border, has reportedly gone up in flames. On Monday, the pro-Ukrainian Eastern European news outlet Nexta reported via Telegram that inhabitants of Kamensk-Shakhtinsky, who live near the state-owned Kamensky facility, heard explosions just before a fire broke out. That would make it the most recent mysterious explosion at a Russian facility since President Vladimir Putin's invasion of Ukraine on February 24, 2022. A series of unexplained fires have occurred across Russia. It is unusual for Ukraine to take credit for attacks on Russian territory. A fire at the facility in 2021 killed several people, as reported by the AFP news agency. The plant was making special-purpose chemical products for the Russian military to help with strengthening the country's defensive capabilities, as stated on the company's website. While Newsweek was unable to confirm the allegation at the time of publication, they did write the Russian Defense Ministry to request a reply. The news agency Nexta said workers were evacuated, and they posted a 9-second video showing massive black smoke plumes soaring. The location was said to be at one of the largest chemical enterprises in the south of the Russian Federation. Reports of explosions at the chemical plant were refuted by the plant's administration, according to local news outlet Dawn 24. All reports from unfriendly sources are untrue, a spokesperson stated, stressing that the factory is running smoothly and that authorities will take all necessary measures to guarantee that the firm maintains its usual operations. It was in 2022, the year President Vladimir Putin initiated a full-scale invasion of Ukraine, that the number of explosions in Russia doubled, according to an independent Russian news site. August 2023, according to Russian news outlet Verska, which was established not long after the conflict started. The number of explosions in Russia in 2022 was 83, which is more than 4 times the number recorded in 2021, 20 explosions. The statistics were referenced from the Ministry of Emergency Situations. The article states that 55 people were killed and 10,647 others injured in explosions that occurred in Russia in 2022. Despite terrorist strikes and gas leaks in residential structures, the number of explosions in Russia in the past decade has not topped 20, according to the site. It went on to say that the number of casualties was in the hundreds, not thousands, prior to 2022. Have you any suggestions for international news stories that Newsweek could run? Concerned about the conflict between Russia and Ukraine? According to sources acquainted with the situation, following the U.S. authorization of secondary penalties on foreign financial firms that support Moscow's war effort in Ukraine, state-owned banks in China are imposing stricter limits on funding to Russian clients, according to the individuals, who requested anonymity due to the nature of the conversation. At least 2 banks have recently requested an audit of their Russian operations, with a particular emphasis on cross-border transactions. According to the sources, banks would cut off any financial support to the Russian military industry, regardless of the location or currency used in transactions, and will also cut ties with clients on the sanctions list. According to the sources, lenders are strictly checking clients' Russian citizenship, permitted beneficiaries, and ultimate controllers as part of their due diligence process. They mentioned that the evaluation will be expanded to non-Russian clients who do business in Russia or send crucial goods to Russia via a third country. This is a further tightening of restrictions that Chinese state banks have been subject to since early 2022, when sanctions from countries including the US were imposed in response to Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Last month, the U.S. Treasury Department said that it would broaden its financial struggle against President Vladimir Putin by using secondary penalties targeting banks that help Russia acquire military equipment. A request for comment was not promptly addressed by the National Financial Regulatory Administration. This new development highlights how much China is giving in to U.S. sanctions, even while it opposes them in theory and promises to keep trade relations with Russia. The administration of President Xi Jinping has backed Putin diplomatically and increased trade in sectors not restricted by sanctions, but it has refrained from providing Russia with substantial military aid. During the war, China's exports to Russia have increased dramatically, and the country has surpassed all others as Russia's top fossil fuel importer. Since 2020, coal shipments to China have more than doubled. Due to sanctions, the Russian central bank is now only able to access half of its foreign reserves, gold and yuan. With the percentage of settlements denominated in yuan increasing to 27% as of September from 15% at the end of 2021, the use of the Chinese currency has increased, following the 2022 suspension of operations by Visa Incorporated and MasterCard Incorporated. Russian banks resorted to China's UnionPay for their financial transactions. The four largest state-run banks in the country have a track record of following U.S. sanctions against Iran and North Korea so that they can continue to use the U.S. dollar clearing system. Because of the uncertainty and possibility of unforeseen effects, the U.S. decision to implement secondary penalties has sparked controversy. Even if they avoid punishment, banks may nonetheless avoid certain industries out of fear of breaking the laws. Bloomberg News previously reported that in February 2022, despite sanctions excluding Russia's energy industry, Bank of China Limited and Industrial and Commercial Bank of China Limited took steps to limit financing for Russian commodities. Banks were directed to adhere to a stringent threshold in situations where they are unable to determine whether their companies connected to Russia pertain to areas that may be affected by the most recent round of restrictions.